Hello everyone. I thought I'd give you an update on my cucumber plants. Right now there's a bee in there, busy pollinating. Right there in that flower. And I actually have some cucumbers started. Let me see if I can find. There's not many started, and they're very small. And I'm not able to locate one right now. I'm surprised they're pollinating at all, to be honest, because they've had so much bug damage and the weather has been really horribly hot and the sun seems like it's much stronger than it was. There's one. There he is. He's a little tiny guy, isn't he? Oh, and there's a cucumber beetle. Anyways, I am having some issues with the sun causing wilt. I know that they have some bacterial wilt because of the cucumber beetles and everything, but they're also wilting throughout the day because of the intense heat in the sun, and right now it's overcast, and so they're not quite as wilted as they were just this morning when it was a lot sunnier. And in the other video I showed you that I had insect netting draped over the top, and that worked for a while. It was kind of a pain because these are very pokey plants and the insect netting is like a gauze and it really stuck to the plants, and so it was hard to get it on and off during the day and everything. Oh, there's another one. Yay! But now I have a problem because the plants have grown over the top of the trellis, and until I can get them to easily bend over without breaking the stems, I'm going to have to let them stay tall like this. And so that pretty much makes it so that I cannot put that insect netting over the top. And we're in the middle of July right now, and I can't see too much of a break in weather, and so I have to come up with something else to shade the plants because that's just not going to work anymore, not with how tall they are and everything. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take some of the electrical conduit, which is this stuff, and it's what I have the tomatoes staked to right now with the veggie cage. I'm going to take 8 of these and create like a frame. It's not going to be so much of a frame as just a way to get the burlap over the plants, and it's not going to be totally covering the plants, but it will be better than what it is right now. And so we're just going to take stakes and drive them straight down into the ground, and because my burlap is only 3 feet wide, I can't cover the bed this way, because that was my initial thought, is that I would just make a canopy over the whole bed just like this, but the bed is 4 feet wide and my burlap is only 3 feet wide, so I cannot do that. And since these trellises are actually 3 feet wide, I'm just going to stake the electrical conduit right into the ground, 2 here and 2 on that side, and then 2 here, and then 2 on that side, and then I'll take the burlap and drape it over the plants this way, so it'll be front to back rather than side to side. So right here I'll have 1 piece of burlap, and then I'll do the same on this side, where I just have another piece of burlap, so it's not going to cover them from the end here, so these are still going to be exposed, and will probably still keep wilting, but you know, I don't know what else to do. I took the one organic control for helping with sun scald and also with bugs is kaolin clay, and I effectively ruined 2 of my sprayers last night, and I didn't even get it all covered. You're supposed to do three coats of it because it's kaolin clay is a powder, of course, and you have to turn it into a liquid formulation, and I don't have a diaphragm pump sprayer, and so I just had regular sprayers, and I got like 1 full application on, and that sprayer stopped working on me. It started clogging up. And then I tried a paintbrush, and that didn't work out very well at all. And then I got my other sprayer out, and it clogged up very quickly. And so while I did get 2 coats onto the leaves, and that's why they look the way they do, it's still not enough. They were wilting this morning, and from what I understand, it takes at least 3 coats to get full coverage, and it's supposed to work for sun scald, and it's supposed to lower the temperature, and it's supposed to help with preventing the bugs from eating the plants and everything, but that's just not going to work for me. And the only sprayer that I found that would possibly work is a backpack sprayer that holds like 3 gallons, and you're supposed to shake the container as you're using it, and realistically, there's no way I can shake a 3-gallon container that's mounted on my back to keep the clay suspended in the water. So that's just not going to work for me, and that's unfortunate because I think that the clay probably would help out with a lot of things, including the bugs. But I have my neem oil, and so I'll keep applying that, and I'll keep applying my compost tea, and hopefully that will be enough to keep the bugs away. And these particular plants might be gone. I mean, I don't know. They're still alive and everything, but you're supposed to pull all the plants that have bacterial wilt, and it seems like most of these plants do. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to salvage them. I gave them a soil drench with the neem last week, I think, to try to help get rid of the disease. I'm not sure if that helps or not, because they say that once they have bacterial wilt, there's nothing you can do. It's irreversible, but I'm going to try because I'm pretty stubborn. And I've got 24 cucumber plants here, and I really don't want to pull them all. So I'm just going to keep doing what I can and keep spraying them with neem and fertilizing them, the foliar fertilization. And to help with the sun and everything, we're going to do this burlap setup. It's not even really going to be a frame or anything, but I'll show you once we have it in place. I'll show you what it looks like and everything, and hopefully that will be enough to shade the plants from this intense sun and everything. And all I can do is hope for the best right now. I am getting some cucumbers started though. There are some on here. Oh, and I have melon started. I have to show you the melon I found. So I do have some baby melons coming in. There's another one trying to come in. So, and these guys aren't, they're not real happy because of the bugs, but they're not extremely sensitive to the sun the way the cucumbers are. So I'm not going to shade my melon plants. This one's already to the top of the trellis. They grew tall, and a lot of them are just drooping down because they're not quite tall enough to weave in and out of the frame yet, so they're just kind of hanging out right now until they get tall enough that I can weave them in and out some more. But I'm not going to worry about shading them because they're pretty hardy as far as sun exposure goes and everything. And then the pepper plants, if they continue to be droopy like they are, I'm probably just going to continue with the putting burlap over those stakes, and so each group of 3 pepper plants will just have one piece of burlap covering that little tiny section, because I don't, unless something, you know, seriously bad happens and we have horrible sunspots, I don't think it's necessary to shade every single raised bed. At least I hope not. Okay, well, in the next part, I will show you what it looks like once we have the stakes in place and the burlap stretched across the top and clamped to the poles. Okay, thank you. See ya. Okay, so here we have my little shade setup, and it's not beautiful, but it is functional. And it does not block all of the sun. Like right now, the sun is straight up from here, but I have this tree over here, and so it provides quite a bit of shade. So I'm not too worried about any sun that it might get in the afternoon from over here, because it's already pretty shady, and you can see it's getting its sun right now. But then the front of it, when the sun is high in the sky, right about here, it'll get shaded in the front here. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about is that because most of the sun that it does get is actually in the morning, and it comes up right around here. And so what I might have to do is add some more burlap and some burlap pieces just across the top here, and then maybe another one right there. But you can see here, these are just conduits, half-inch electrical conduit poles, and I wanted to make sure it was taller than the trellis, and it is. And because the plants are topped out of the trellis and they're not quite ready to be trained over the top, I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of room. Unfortunately, the best laid plans sometimes don't work, and I mean, it's okay, but it is sagging. So I don't know if you can tell, but the pole is up here, and then it does go straight across on the sides, but then in the center right there, it's sagging. But because I made the poles tall enough, it should be okay. So the poles, they only come in 10-foot lengths, I think, and so we cut them down to 7 feet, and then pounded them into the ground 1 foot. And so they're pretty sturdy. They're in there quite a ways. They're in there at least a foot all the way around. And so I have 6 feet above ground, and the trellis from the ground to the top of the trellis is 5 feet. So that gives it about a foot, plus there's some sagging there. But like I said, once these get a little bit bigger, I'm just going to train them down the other side of the trellis, hopefully. Or I'll just have to top them off. I hope I don't have to do that. I'm hoping that they'll grow down the other side of the trellis. So, at any rate, the burlap, like I said in the other video about providing shade, it's about a 50% shade cloth, I guess. So it'll shade the plants really well. Except for, like I said, down here at the end, I may have to take this burlap and string it, a piece from here to here, and then maybe another one down here, because it does actually get quite a bit of morning sun, and so I guess I'll have to see how that works. But I have plenty of burlap. I bought a 250-foot roll, and so if I have to, I'll just span it across this side, and that'll be something I can take down if I need to. And then if it's raining or whatever, I can just take these clips off and throw the burlap over and just let it hang from those 2 poles, or 4 poles. There's 2 here on this trellis and then 2 on that trellis, so that the rain can get in there okay, and the burlap won't sag even more, because if I would leave this up when it's raining, that burlap will just sag and sag and sag. And I mean, I could always throw plastic over the top if I need to, but there hasn't been enough rain to even worry about, overwatering. So I definitely probably will just flip the burlap up and over to the other side and let it be rained on. So, yeah, my trellises, I think you've probably seen them before if you've watched any of my videos. They're 3 feet wide, and this is the livestock panel, and so we put the poles 3 feet apart, because that was the width of my burlap, so I had to work with the size of the burlap. So no matter how you're doing your shade cloth, you want to work with the size of your shade cloth from there, and that's how you'll judge where you'll position everything and all that kind of stuff. And I've just got these clamps that do not actually fit. They're very loose, but it's clamped onto the fabric and it's not going anywhere. So, I mean, I'm sure a tornado could make that fly away, but anything else is probably going to be okay. And so I don't really like these type of clamps, but that's pretty much all I had to work with. And that should hold it okay. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's doing its job. So far I haven't had any problems. I've had it on here for a few hours already today, and it's not creating any problems. And so I have 4 clamps on each side, and we extended the burlap so that it's well past the top of the bed. I cut more than I would need because, you know, you can always take away, but you can't add more if you cut things too short. I've learned my lesson on that one. So I cut them at like 15 feet long so that I could make sure that it was going to drape far enough down. It does come too far down, but that's okay. Like I said, I'd rather have more than too little. So I just thought I would show you my little setup for my shade. I don't think any of the other plants are going to need it, so I'm not going to worry about them, except for the peppers. But like I said, I can do individual little squares of burlap over the stakes on the peppers, so I don't really have to worry about that. Alrighty guys, hope this helps someone and gives you a few ideas of what you can do to shade your plants during this really extremely hot summer that we've had. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye. Okay, I know I said I was done, but I just wanted to show you this end piece that I cut and put into place, because like I said, the bulk of it, the sun exposure for my cucumbers comes from this side, from the east. And so for the most part it gets a lot of sun in the morning, and they've been wilting in the morning. And so while these front pieces will provide some, you know, noonish exposure or whatever, I needed something for early morning, like from 8 a.m. to noon or 1 or so. And so I just took an extra piece of the burlap and cut it right to the length that I needed it. Actually, I always cut my burlap just a little bit long because the ends unravel very easily, and so I cut it longer than I needed, and it ended up being just right. So I'm glad I cut it a few inches too long. And so I just took the clip that was already on here. I don't like those clips, but it's the only thing I have that will work. I took the clip that was already up here and just added that piece right in there. And so it's very nice and secure, and it actually gave a little bit more stability to that clip, if you could believe it. But I did not include it in the clips down here because I don't know if you can see that the cucumber plants are growing off of the trellis to the outside, and so I didn't want to smash them or anything. And the burlap is heavy enough that the only thing it'll do is sit here and blow, usually. I mean, if it's really, really windy, it may take it and try to throw it, you know, to the top, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to work, and the only thing it's going to do is just like that. It's just going to billow in and out. But I didn't want to attach it to the poles because I was afraid that it would smash it. And if you'll remember in the first video I made about shading, that's why I didn't just take the burlap and throw it over the cucumber plants, was because this stuff is really heavy, you know, and I was worried that it would be just too much to lay right on top of the plants, because the plants stick out quite a bit from the trellis, and so it would be literally laying right on the plants, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to smash my babies or anything. So this was my little solution. Instead of making a PVC frame, which you could also do, but then you would need 4-foot wide burlap, and this was only 3 feet wide, and you could make a PVC frame that sat right on top of your raised bed, you know, just take it vertically across and then up, and then all the way over and then down. But that would have cost a lot more money because I would have needed the pipes to go up and across twice. Plus I would have had to have a center support, which would have, of course, gotten in my way when I wanted to get in here to do any kind of harvesting, because right now there's nothing in my way and I can get to everything. Those are my new radishes. And so this worked out a lot better for me, but you could definitely use a PVC frame and then put whatever on it that you want. But keep in mind that if you use PVC, you'll have to have all those little fittings. That's why I was saying this was a lot cheaper, because one pole of electrical conduit is like $2.50, $3 maybe for a half-inch piece, and you're going to pay that for your PVC. Plus you have to have T fittings, you have to have corner fittings, special corners that would accommodate a pole going that way and this way, and believe me, that really adds up. So this was definitely the most cost-efficient way to go as far as any kind of frame for it. This isn't, I wouldn't call this a frame, but it's pretty sturdy and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And like I said, I have that added benefit of being able to still get in here. That's why the trellises are split up instead of having one long trellis all the way across, because I knew I wouldn't be able to harvest anything on the inside standing here. I would just be limited to reaching in from the ends, and I knew that I didn't want to do that. And so we put a 3-foot section here and a 3-foot section here, and then two squares going this way are open so that I can get in here and I can work and get into my lettuce and the spinach and everything else. So I would definitely recommend spacing that out so that you don't have any framework or trellis work in the way when you're trying to work on your plants or harvest them or anything like that. And I don't think I'm going to need to put another piece on. This was just one piece, and it's 3 feet wide. I put it widthwise, you know, so that was probably like 53 inches, but then the width of it, which it came off of a roll, is hanging from top to bottom. And I don't think I'm going to worry about that. That's probably not a big deal. Not enough for me to put another 3-foot piece of burlap, because then it would go all the way to the ground, and that might be overkill. Now if I find that they really are just getting too hot even here on the bottom, I can always cut another piece and attach it to this clip and just have it hanging down. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. I think that's going to be okay. So now they'll be protected in the morning and in the afternoon, and then in the late evening, whatever sun it gets from over here, whatever direct sun it gets, will be fine. I don't think that's going to hurt anything at all, because usually after 3 o'clock they perk back up anyways, because the tree over here is shading it for the most part. So I was mostly concerned about the sun first thing in the day, first thing in the morning, and up until about 3 o'clock. So that should work out okay. And then this is the burlap. It's, again, 3 feet wide, and this roll happened to be 250 feet long. And I've used maybe a third of it, a quarter of it. I don't know. I've used a lot of it, and there's still a ton left. It's a very heavy, big roll. And I think this was only $90 online. And, I mean, $90 is a lot of money to a lot of people, but not really when you consider it's 250 feet, and you can use this for so many things. You can use it for shading, you can use it for frost protection, you can use it as a ground cover for soil erosion. Like we had it on the ground when we were putting some new grass seed to keep the birds from eating the grass seed, and it actually worked pretty well. And then of course it hasn't rained, and so everything's really dry right now, but I also use it on my soil, on like in the raised beds and everything, because I have a lot of animals that like to dig and either bury their food or use my beds as litter boxes. So it's actually a really good physical barrier for animals, and I'll probably have a video just about how to deal with certain animals, and this will definitely be a key player in it. You just lay it right on the soil. I think I still have one more piece. This was like the last bare patch of soil I have. I haven't planted anything here next to the green beans. So this is what I use, because if it wasn't there, they'd just go in and dig right into the soil and either poop in it or bury their nuts or, you know, corn or whatever they happen to have. So it works really good as a physical barrier and also as mulch. You know, if you didn't have regular mulch and all you had was a big piece of burlap, you could actually use it as mulch. So it's quite versatile, and I highly recommend anybody with a semi-large garden that they get a roll of burlap, because it's wonderful stuff for the garden. Okay, I promise that was it. That's all I wanted to show you. That's all I was going to say. Alright guys, good luck with the heat. Take it easy.